Nigeria Center for Disease Control (NCDC) confirmed 6 new cases of COVID-19, increasing number of confirmed cases in Nigeria to 190. On the foreign scene, African countries with no case of coronavirus reduces to 5 as Malawi records 3 cases. Stay tuned for the news in details. A River State Governor, Nyesom Wike, has lifted the curfew imposed on education bus stop to Ajib Junction along Ikwere Road and Ubirikwere Junction to Zoba, Rumalogu, and Choba. Governor Wike said the decision to relax the curfew from today, April 3, 2020, was reached after a meeting with service commanders in the state. The governor also lifted the suspension of the chairman, Solomon Abel AK, and deputy chairman of Obiakpo local government area, just as he insisted that all markets remains closed and warned residents of Imbushimini Rumeme to desist from flouting government directive on closure of markets.
Promise that all directives issued during this time period will be reviewed from time to time. After a meeting of the State Security Council today, the following decisions were taken. 1. With effect from tomorrow, 3rd of April 2020, the 24 hours curfew imposed from Education Bus Stop to Ajib Junction along the Ikwere Road and Obikwere Junction to Zoba, Rumalogo, and Choba has been lifted. All borders and markets still remain closed. Following the interventions of some well-meaning citizens of the state, the suspension of the chairman and deputy chairman of Obiakpo local government area has been lifted. However, this should serve as a warning to local government chairmen and traditional rulers who will allow markets to be open in their areas. Residents of Mboshimi Rumeme in Obiakpo local government area are hereby warned to desist from flouting government directive on closure of markets or to be prepared to face unpleasant consequences.
Governor Wike therefore informed that his administration is working out palliative measures to cushion the effect of the sit-at-home directive.
Commercial vehicle operators will soon get appropriate directives on the operations in order to maintain social distancing. Implementation of palliatives to cushion the effect of recent directives on citizens will soon take effect. International oil companies operating in the state should support government by donating towards the containment of the virus. My dear good people of River State, let me sincerely thank all of you for your patience and understanding all these days. The sacrifices we are all making have greatly helped us not to record any positive case since the index case was reported.
Steps are already being taken to cushion the suffering of people of Akukutori local government area of River State due to the spread of the coronavirus. This follows the donation bags of staple food by the authorities of the local government council to residents of Akulga. Speaking during the handing over of the food items to members of the communities, the council chairman, Roland Sekibo, said it is part of the palliative measures provided to support the people during this stay-at-home period.
It's a bit difficult when people don't come out to look for their daily bread. So we try to provide at least food stuff to ameliorate the suffering of the people while they obey the laws of staying at home so that we can prevent the virus from this local government. Well, we did 200 bags of rice, 200 bags of gari, and like 100 bags of beans. All the communities in the local government were given something. Everybody is carried along.
Our correspondent reports that the chairman and secretary of the COVID-19 containment committee in the area, Caroline Napoleon and Aluye Briggs, commended the efforts of the state government and promised to ensure residents comply with government directives.
We appreciate him so much. He's a good man. Honorable Roland Sekibo, the first of this kind, he has done well.
We encourage him to do more.
We are happy that our chairman has done palatable for us. And so this is for Elizagama community. As a community secretary, I have received it and I will take it to the home and share it among ourselves.
In the meantime, over 200 persons have been arraigned before a magistrate court sitting in Port Harcourt for violating the directive of the state government on the 24-hour restriction of movement in some parts of the state. The suspects, who were arrested by police in different parts of the affected areas, were arraigned on a 3-count charge of conspiracy, disobedience to governor's directive, and street trading, which is said to have caused a breach of public peace. 3 magistrates who presided over the cases, including Senior Magistrate Rita Ogugo, Chief Magistrate Didi Uwa Maduwenye, and Senior Magistrate V.E. Nweke, in their various courtrooms, granted bail to all the suspects. Our correspondent, Uchendu Ejoa, reports that those who pleaded guilty were granted bail to the tune of 10,000 naira fine, while those who pleaded not guilty were granted bail for the sum of 100,000 naira with two sureties. The magistrate subsequently adjourned till the 6th of April for definite hearing. Speaking to newsmen, one of the defense counsels, Izito Orokwa, said despite the suffering of the suspect, the court should be commended for the way the case was handled.
The judicial procedure is quite welcome. Some of the magistrates said, I will not mention names, said the lawyers should come and take their defendants. Some of the defendants pleaded guilty, and the court graciously and following what is on ground admitted their guilt and also gave them a fine, 10,000 naira, and immediately you pay the fine, then you are free to go. Of the court is discharged when the court grants bail. These are other procedures that follow. They called for summary trials, but the police is not also ready for the summary trial. So the court fixed definitely for definite hearing.
Some family members of those arrested persons narrated their ordeals with the police.
Me coming here today, I was at state hearing this morning. They referred us to court here. So we have been standing here since all through the day. Nothing has been happening. They have demanded money from us, and that's demanding money from us. How much? I've already paid like 16,000 and that's saying I will still pay more 10,000 naira.
Till on Tuesday, and I said they brought him to the court. So we were still working from morning. They'll take them to the CPS. They'll bring them back to court. Even to give him food, we pay 500 at court here. They don't even want us to go and see them. Just to open the gate, they say we should pay 500 to bring food for our own brother to eat. Is that what they are doing in this our River State? What the governor is doing is really bad.
Meanwhile, the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, has cautioned officers and men of the Nigeria Police Force currently deployed for the enforcement of the lockdown and social restriction orders to ensure that the rights of Nigerians are not infringed upon. The warning was contained in a statement by Force spokesman DCP Frank Mba. DCP Mba in the statement revealed the persons on essential duties duly exempted from the restriction orders should be accorded due courtesies and unfettered access to and through their places of duty. The IGP asks that all police officers deployed for the enforcement of restriction orders must be professional, humane, tactful, and must show utmost respect to the citizenry. According to the statement, the IGP has directed command commissioners of police to immediately commence and conduct monitoring of police officers deployed on enforcement duties in their areas of responsibilities. International rights group Amnesty International has called on the federal government to take immediate actions to prevent the spread of coronavirus in correctional and detention centers across the country. Amnesty International, in a statement, said congestion in Nigerian prisons is staggering and a threat to the lives of prisoners, especially at this time that requires social distancing to prevent the rapid spread of the disease. The rights group, in a statement signed by the director of Amnesty International Nigeria, Osai Ojigo, said inmates and detainees at police and military facilities across the country were at risk of contracting the coronavirus disease as they are held in overcrowded and unhygienic conditions that can be even more deadly in the hot weather. Ojigo asked the authorities to urgently adopt a strategy for the protection of the rights of people deprived of their liberty, including addressing overcrowding in prisons by releasing unconditionally prisoners of conscience, older people, and those with underlying medical conditions. You are listening to the World News at noon on Today 95.1 FM, Voice of the People. After the break, more news, foreign and sports stories. Do stay tuned.
Every day, every hour, when the big stories break, depend on our 24-hour news team to bring you the latest. Today, 95.1 FM.
95.1 FM, Voice of the People.
And we're back.
You're still tuned to the World News at noon on Today 95.1 FM, Voice of the People. Now to the rest of the bulletin. President Muhammadu Buhari has directed the Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, to pay March salaries following the restriction of movement in Lagos, Ogun and the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. President Buhari gave the directive during his meeting with the COVID-19 Impact Assessment Committee held to review the effect of the outbreak on the economy. He urged the ministry to ensure that critical infrastructures are protected as much as possible. The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, while briefing State House correspondents on the outcome of the meeting in Abuja, said the President further directed that measures be put in place to protect the poor during this lockdown. The Minister of Health, Dr. Osage Yanire, said there is no cause for panic as more confirmed cases of COVID-19 will be discovered in the coming days. The minister made the observation during the daily media briefing of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 in Abuja. Yanire said this follows the improvement in the national testing capacity with the establishment of 2 more testing centers in Nigeria, just as he assured that the federal government will continue to expand isolation centers and ICUs across the country.
As contact tracing and testing capacity are being ramped up, more and more cases will be found, and the number of new confirmed cases of COVID-19 is expected to rise initially. With the expanded national case definition and the addition of 2 laboratories to the NCDC network of molecular diagnostic laboratories, national testing capacity has increased. Moreover, the lockdown in high-burden states presents the advantage of reduced population mobility and leaves more people at home to be found during contact tracing. As I said, all this means that more people, more samples can be collected and can be tested more quickly, and the turnaround time is shorter, and it means that more cases will be discovered.
The minister also said talks are on with the Minister of Trade, Industry and Investment to look into the possibility of having ventilators and other protective gears produced by indigenous manufacturers.
In view of the prevailing global shortages of particular commodities like masks and protective gowns and even of ventilators, we are going to have conversations with the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment to look for indigenous producers, indigenous manufacturers to try and support the effort to find more facilities and commodities that we are going to be using for protection and personal protection equipment.
Meanwhile, the Lagos State government has announced the recovery of 11 more people from the coronavirus who have now been discharged from the Yaba Treatment Center. Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu made the announcement in a series of tweets via his official Twitter handle. Governor Sanwo-Olu revealed that the persons, 2 females and 9 males, have fully recovered and have tested negative for COVID-19 weeks after they tested positive for the disease. While thanking frontline health workers and other experts for their service in the bid to curtail the spread of the disease, the Lagos State Governor decried the community infections that have begun to surface, stressing that it was not the time to relax but keep vigilance. Meanwhile, the NCDC has said 20 persons have been discharged from isolation centers after recovering from coronavirus. The center, however, announced 6 new confirmed cases of COVID-19, increasing the number from 184 to 190 cases. 7 new cases were discovered in Osun State as at 11 a.m. today. On the foreign scene now, Malawi has reported its first 3 confirmed cases of coronavirus. The Southern African nation was among the few countries on the continent yet to report a case as at early this week. Other African countries yet to record a case are Lesotho, Comoros, South Sudan, and Sao Tome and Principe. But Malawian President Peter Mutharika made the announcement in an address to the nation that the country now has 3 cases that were reported in the capital, Lilongwe. The first involved is a 61-year-old woman who had recently traveled to India to visit her relatives, while 2 of her contacts are a domestic worker and a relative also tested positive. To end the news, here's a summary of the major stories. The Governor Nyesom Wike has relaxed the curfew he imposed on parts of Rivers State. Amnesty International has asked the federal government to decongest all correctional facilities to avoid outbreak of coronavirus pandemic in the country. Nigeria's Center for Disease Control (NCDC) has confirmed 6 new cases of COVID-19, increasing the number of confirmed cases in Nigeria to 190. On the foreign scene, African countries with no case of coronavirus has reduced to 5 as Malawi records 3 cases. That was the news as edited by Victor Eziama. For comments and inquiries, please call 0815 341 8657 or 0814 434 3502 or send your emails to news@todayfmlive.com. You can also read our stories on www.todayfmlive.com. I am Kala Dagger Batbo. Thank you for listening. Do stay tuned to Today 95.1 FM. Good afternoon to you.
Today's news, today's entertainment, today's sports, today's issues. Today on Today 95.1 FM, Port Harcourt.